Okay, so here's the ST with all the panels removed. Um, I went ahead and took all of these buttons off, including the ones on the multiplier, because I couldn't get this little plate here cleaned off. Um, and unfortunately, even if you remove the whole, whatever, keyboard assembly here, um, this is not meant to be removed. You're not supposed to take all, what is it, 100 of these buttons off. But that was the only way I could get to this thing. So I did. I didn't break any, but there's really nothing unexciting under here. It's just a little, you can kind of see some of the levers a little bit better, but it's mostly just a steel plate with some slots. Um, but after I did that, I replaced the little cork bumpers on this guy. Um, Put it back together after soaking it in some like evaporust and trying to give it some kind of coating to protect it, but managed to get that done without breaking any of these things. Um, this was, I don't think I would do this again. It took a long time. Um, and this multiplier keyboard, this plate right here, you really can't get this plate off without removing the whole multiplying module thing. And I was not wanting to do that. This thing is actually so loud and vibrates the table so much I had to put the camera up on another table on top of a toolbox to get like a good enough view. This is a little awkward, but wanted to make sure I got this done before I put the panels back on because once I put these back on, I'm not going to want to do this again. Okay, so I wanted to set the motor RPM on this, and I had no idea how to get a tach reading and where to get it. Um, and Someone told me that there's a really easy way to figure out the speed of one of these machines, and I guess most machines, because when they're saying you have a motor speed set point, they're not talking about the actual speed of the universal motor, which is, on this in this case, it's like 2,700. They're talking about the revolutions of the machine, so like one turn of the drive here. So, easy way to do this is just okay. So knowing that every time the drive goes around, so one revolution, the counter will go up by one if I'm like adding or something. All I have to do is time it for about, I think 6 seconds is probably the best way to do this, and then just multiply how many revolutions you had by 10, and that's how many you have in 60 seconds, so that's RPM. So if I had thought of that, that really would have made things a lot easier because this thing is trying to get that on a tiny little shaft that's going 2,700 RPM is impossible. But just to show that this works, I'm just going to do one, and I'm going to add that for 6 seconds. We're going to see the counter wheel. So let me do this. Okay, so that was about 6 seconds. And so we went to 50 on the counter. So just multiply that by 10. So in 60 seconds, we do 500 RPM, which is pretty close to where it's actually running at. And I can show that here. This is the drive wheel. I guess it's part of the main clutch, but just going to take an actual tach reading. Okay, so 480. I mean, plus or minus with a 20 RPM, that's still pretty good. I mean, I'm pretty sure if I did that again, I'd probably get a number that was closer to the actual true RPM. But if you don't have a tachometer, this is a really simple, easy way to do this. All right, so the back view with the motor compartment, that's the centrifugal governor thing right there, and the adjustment screw for setting the speed is right there. Um, Really easy to spot. It's the only big screw on this side of the governor. So just screwing it in about a half turn will increase the speed by about 10%. So dialing that in really wasn't too difficult once I figured out how to read the RPM. Um, Everything else back here, like this capacitor, this resistor, it's just part of the governing circuit to reduce the arcing from when the centrifugal governor will contact here keeps opening and closing. When I first fired this thing up, there was a lot of sparks coming out of the governor contacts here. Um, and over time that got bad. I mean, I'm sure it was just covered with whatever grease, oil. Um, but I noticed after running the motor, after lubricating the two little ports on the end bells, there's one here and there's an identical one over on that side. But the motor kind of started to speed up by itself after a couple weeks. And I set this thing, I guess, about 2 months after I got the motor running, and I was actually able to speed it up a little bit. So glad that I figured out how to do that because I was worried the whole time. Oh, is it running too fast or like whatever? Um, but once I figured out how to check that and set it, it's really pretty simple. All right, so here's a shot of the multiplier shuttle thing here. Um, Underneath these wheels, there's a matrix of little pins that are going to correspond to this little, whatever it is, 10 key pad here for putting a number in. But anytime any number is pressed, um, there's a little spring held lever that's holding all of these in place. So this first one I hit number 7, it looks like, so that one's not being held in place by that lever. But all the rest of these, if I'm going to press another number, like say I hit 8. So a few things happen. When you press the button, any button down on the keypad here, the little release gets instantaneous. When that thing gets released, the thing that's holding that, all of these at 0, and then the wheel will start to, spring loaded fall this way. And in this case, I'm not sure if we can see the pin that it's getting held on. It's really hard to see that. Um, yeah, I'm not sure. But you can see the pins maybe better this way. I'm going to hit a few keys here to see if I can. There's 9. Okay, so you can see. There we go. So I think that was a 7, that last one. You can see that little pin moved. I had a few more keys here. So 8, 7. And then 9 does not have a pin. So basically 9 is, all the 9 key does is release the lever that's holding the wheel in place, and it'll just go all the way to 9, which is the highest digit. I'm going to go ahead and reset the multiplier here. It's going to shake the camera real bad. Oh, turn the power on. All right. So, like everything on this machine, it's always in a place it's really hard to see, but do my best here. One of the biggest issues I had with this whole multiplier was there. Okay, you can almost kind of see it. There's a little, it's that guy. So this little bolt thing, it's one of those cammed bolts that you unscrew a screw that's holding it on, and then you can use a wrench to adjust the position of that bolt. So this has to that this is one of the adjustments on this thing that has to be at exactly the right place. Um, and with that one, if the bolt is there, basically, so this thing is obviously, there's a big long spring that's pushing this carriage, or the whatever you want to call it, the multiplier shuttle guy, this thing always to the left. So there's a little, you can't really see it from here, but on that side there's a little, back of that lever is pushing on the carriage all the time. Because what this thing wants to do is you hit a button and it moves that way. I mean, it's only indexing it by 1. basically just releasing the spring tension for that one moment. But if that thing is being pushed too far to the left, um, when the thing is trying to finish a multiplication, it'll get to this part, and then the carriage will just vibrate back and forth like it's trying to hit something to clear out, but it's not quite getting it, and you basically just have to like manually push it over. I think if I move that over, you can kind of see. Okay, so this little tooth guy, this thing won't go all the way back and hit something in here. I'll turn the machine over to show you. Um, and it will just it won't cycle and finish. But what I was having more of an issue with was if it's set the other direction, the last digit in the multiplication, so I guess let's say last, the first digit, so in this case it would be 4, will not clear. Um, and that took me forever to figure out because I couldn't understand why this thing pushing or letting the carriage move farther to the right at the end of the cycle would clear the first digit of multiplication until I had to realize how these pins work, I guess. So I'll get a view of this. So there's a few little, I guess, whatever you call them, rails right here. Um, and all the way in one direction, is that all the way? Yeah. All the way in this direction, you can just see, okay, every pin is riding in this rail. Um, but as soon as you get to this part of the rail, it starts to, it tapers up. So it's a lot thicker on this side than it is right here. And I'll clear this out so I can show you the other side. You can see this. This is really hard to see. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to show this. Every pin in here has a little slot, or has a hole that they basically all ride in the rail. So these are all enclosing the rail. So each row has its own rail. And in this position, the rail is really thin, so when I press a button, it has enough room to move up. So basically, the slope or the taper in the rails, when you get to like right about here, you should almost be able to see that. It's just really hard. Man, just can't quite see it. That was why it was so hard for me to figure this out. But the way that the multiplication gets cleared is as soon as the carriage or whatever this is the carriage, as soon as this little shuttle guy is moving to the right. So let's say I want to multiply by this number. As soon as it moves to the right past this little thing right here, it's inside the part of the rail that's thick. So the pin gets forced back down. So basically that's what clears the multiplication in these. And you kind of notice right at the end, as soon as it gets to the end or the last little, whatever, it's finished with the last digit, the carriage gets bumped to the right for like an instant and then rests back where it was before. So let me do this. Goes this way, and then I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but this will move a good eighth of an inch farther, and that bump is what clears the last digit. Because obviously, if this was riding, if so the rest of these are currently, you cannot possibly set them because, or the pins can't be set because they're all in the thick part of the rail. This pin on the first digit is the only one that at rest is sitting on the whatever thin part of the rail. So that means if it goes back to rest, nothing's ever going to clear it unless a little tiny nudge at the end pushes it far enough to the right that the pin will be forced onto the larger part of the rail and then rest back in the thin part of the rail. So I was having real problems with this, and this was one of those things where I would, I'll show that part again here. This little stupid bolt thing, the cammed adjustment here, I would literally turn it like 10 degrees clockwise, tighten it back up, and now the multiplication is just bouncing back and forth at the end, like it's too far and it wasn't finishing the cycle. And then I'd turn it slightly more the other direction, and then it wouldn't clear the first digit. So this was really one of those like, okay, just right in the sweet spot kind of things. Um, I really hope this doesn't go out of alignment again because that was really obnoxious to deal with. But I wanted to kind of show a little bit more of that if possible before I put these panels back on. All right, so it's really hard to get a good shot of the multiplier from the bottom. Just to give you an idea of where we are. So this is the bottom of the machine. Get a better view. So there's the keyboard up there. Um, this is the lever that I was talking about that needs to basically push the multiplier shuttle thing to the left. Um, and there's the shuttle itself with the pin matrix. So real quick, so this is the adjustment. It's really, again, you can't really see the other side, but that's the screw that the little cammed nut thing is on the other side. So you have to unscrew this, use a wrench from the other side to adjust where that is, and basically that will just control where this sits. It'll maybe let it go a little farther to the right or to the left. And you just have to set that so that it will allow this thing to go exactly as far to the right as possible for the multiplication to end and for the thing to bounce a little bit to reset the first one. Which is, I'm sure I'm butchering the terminology or whatever, but anyway, so this is the back of the multiplier with the pins, and these are the little guys. So every time you press a button, so let me press one of the buttons of the multiplier thing. Oh no. Okay, so unfortunately I'm at the end of a whatever. I've had enough of them, so we've done 10 digits. So I'm going to super dangerously try to turn the power back on and maybe run this while I'm holding it so that, there we go. All right, I hope this doesn't lock up. Okay, so there it goes. It's pushing it that way, and then there we go. Okay, so I'm going to turn this off because I don't like doing this. All right, so to get a better view of this, um, there's all your pins, and you can see the rails that they're sitting in are whatever. They're thick enough to where you can't move these at all. Like you can kind of push them a little bit, but they have been reset. And once again, I don't think I have enough room to show the tip. Anyway, as this thing moves, just press a few buttons. So this is me pressing a button, pressing another button. You can kind of start to see. I can push this over here. This is hard to do. All right, so now we can kind of see a little bit. So every row of these, and you can kind of see the ones that were selected, like this one, these two are pushed in. So that's going to be whatever digit it is that's holding basically when you press that button, this one gets pushed in, and then the little wheel with all the numbers gets stuck on that guy. But every single one of these buttons has to first release these little, dang it, maybe I can get the bottom side. Okay, that's HD. Okay, so there's when you press a button, this thing is the thing that releases the wheel initially. So every button press is just an instantaneous thing, releases the wheel, and then it gets stuck on whatever button you had set the wheel at. These springs, if you in my situation, every single one of these stupid little expansion springs was rubbed off of the little guy, whatever that is. It's a post that they're all resting on. And I had to get a little pin or a little whatever picks like this and like very carefully every single one of these try and reattach them just right so they wouldn't fly off in my face because they're too small. You can't replace those. I could barely get in there enough with this pick, but if any of these springs are not attached, then you won't be able to set anything when you multiply. I mean, you can press a button, but all it's going to do is move the carriage or the whatever this guy over. It's not going to be able to let the wheel release to set a number. So after I did all 10 of those, I was able to get that thing to work. But yeah, this multiplier, I mean, that's with what, just only one of these adjustments and just this issue probably took several hours to figure out. There's a bunch more adjustments in here. It's just an unfortunate thing to try and have to get this particular part working. But once it does, I mean, I haven't had any issues with mine since. Hopefully, I don't. During shipping, whatever this is the little thing that's attached to that big spring that pushes it backwards. Had hopped over this side and ground all of these springs off. That was a pretty easy fix, but there was a lot of damage during shipping with this thing. Okay, so this is a pretty decent little view um, from the bottom. So I wanted to show I showed the little tooth uh, rack, I don't know what you want to call it, that moves this way, and it has to go far enough to hit this for it to release multiplication. So this is it's spring loaded. It's on this, here you can see it's all the way over here. There's a little spring guy right there. This, for me, I had to lubricate this a lot. I don't know what it was about this particular thing that was such an issue, but I'm going to try to run the multiplier, just the multiplication correction here, so that you can see this rack come through here and like hit that thing. Here we go. It's not on. That's the problem. So let me turn it on though. Okay. There we go. Oh, got him. Yep. Okay. So this thing has to push this enough. If it doesn't hit it hard enough, or like this adjustment, that guy, if it's not adjusted enough, then this thing won't hit this hard enough, and it'll just keep going, and it won't stop. So of all the little simple things, I mean, at least this is very. I mean, this is like the only area in the whole machine that just there's a lot of room here. I mean, this is you take the bottom plate off, and you can get to this. I mean, you can get to that really easy thing to check in that case. It also allows you to get to the bottom side of the keyboard, um, which I think I had to take I actually removed all 90 of the buttons and pulled the plate off because I needed to get the rust off of it. And all you can see from the bottom is just like I'm touching it with the pick here. I mean, really, you can see everything. Removing that plate's not going to help you get to very much. I just had to do that so I could get the whatever plate off and cleaned. All right. Well, it just so happens that the universe has provided me with an excellent photo opportunity here. Um, you notice all of these little guys that I was talking about are in the down position because their springs are still attached. But then we got this guy right here who is conspicuously not down. And what that means is that I'm going to have to spend another, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours with this stupid little spring to try and get it reattached uh, right there with all the rest of the springs that apparently knew better than to mess with me today. Um, I don't think I'm going to show this on video because it's going to be a lot of probably a lot of obscenities, but hopefully this doesn't take me too long. All right, so this is difficult. I'm going to try to get a view of the actuators in here spinning. Um, try to show this from the top, I think, but it's these guys back here, way in the back. I only see the fronts of them really. I hit the plus button. There we go. These guys are on. And then I forgot what this thing is called. This little grooved brass thing. But of all the parts in here, this one was the absolute greasiest. I don't even think I knew that it was brass for a good while because all I could see was this giant chunk of wax spinning 100 miles an hour. And even now, it's not very good. But this is at the absolute heart of the machine, and there's so many things in here that like I would have loved to take off to clean properly, but I'm not taking my chances. You know, if this thing was totally busted, then maybe I take it off and clean it. But with a lot of this, it's just a much better time if you don't have to remove major components because I mean, you really there's no guarantee you're going to get it back, especially with the timing. It's a nightmare. But so I'll get a view of the motor as well. This is the side of the motor with the. It's really not a good view. Oh well, this is a view of something. The motor, probably, yeah. Another interesting thing. There's one red gear. And most of these gears are just metal. You know, they're not painted. Um, and I'm not even sure I'll be able to get the camera to see that, but there maybe. I bet there's an angle somewhere. There we go. This big old red gear. And all I can say is I really appreciate that they made that red. Um, because it's so buried that you probably wouldn't even know it was there. But it being red, you can see it pretty well, not with the camera, but like from pretty much any angle. And that was really helpful. I think it's a 5-to-1 reduction on that gear from the motor shaft. I'm not sure. But obviously it's got a little one-way clutch on it, so it freely kind of spins to the stop there. Okay, so here's a side view for showing the multiplication. Some numbers. Um, so on my machine, this one I think is just a regular multiply. Okay. This one is the negative multiply. Alright. This is just the multiplication correction. It just erases the. then this one is, I think, there's a button that basically just doesn't erase. Okay, so this one erases the carriage. Um, Basically, it like clears everything before multiplying. So if you're going to multiply like one number times this plus one number times this, you wouldn't want to hit this one because this will basically reset everything first. So I think when I hit this, yeah, clears the carriage and then carries through with whatever is on the keyboard. Okay, here's another view for multiplication. It's just going to be regular. Another one there. So when I got this thing, everything was locked up. Um, this keyboard clearing button was completely, I mean, it was rusted in the down position. So I took a lot of, uh, what is it, PB Blaster and just wrenching on it, trying to get that thing freed up. Um, Once I got that freed up, all the keys were stuck. Um, this right here is the keyboard locking lever. Um, so that just moves this little rail down here. So let's see. So yeah, that's unlocked. In the locked position, the rail teeth get moved a little bit farther that way, and it stops these from going up. So whenever I press a button, these things run the whole span of the keyboard for every column, and they can't move. But when I release that lock, they have enough spot to move when you're setting them, and then these guys just clear the individual columns, which is really useful. Um, Especially you don't have to go back and you set like a 10-digit number and clear that. Let's see. So, in addition to the keys sticking, I'll have to show a bottom side view with a lot of this. Let's try to get in there. Get the light on that. That's probably, there we go. Okay, so, come on. This is really hard to get a good shot of with lighting. So we have in here the greasy little actuators, a little piece of grease. This thing, I don't know how many cans of degreaser I had to use to get most of this, congealed, uh, just nasty wax, like mineral oil and stuff on there. But when you press a button on the keyboard, there are two different, for most of these, I think for the last two it's a little different, but for most keys, like this is the third to last column, number 8, there are two, I'm not going to even try to say the technical term for these, but each one has a little square shaft that has two little gears on it, and keys number, what is it, 9 through, looks like 6 have that upper shaft, and then once you hit 5, you have that lower shaft, and each position will set where that is supposed to ride. And even now you can see they're a little bit sticky. Um, Unfortunately, these have to ride on the shaft, and the shaft, it was just totally greased up. Um, this whole shaft thing has to ride the whole span underneath the keyboards. That's another thing that you need to lubricate. But when I was having issues with these keys, like some of them would press, but that they wouldn't release properly. Most of the issues were cleared up once I freed up these little, whatever you want to call them, things on the shafts for each column. Okay, I wanted to mention, or at least show this because I might have mentioned it, but this was really helpful for when I first got this thing and trying to figure out how I was going to get it moving. Um, so this is a quarter 28 thread. Um, After I got all the grease out of there, I could kind of see it. Um, but of course, I didn't have anything that was quarter 28. Um, that's kind of a silly thread. Um, but I went to Granger and I was like, hey man, I need a quarter 28 hand crank. And they were like, what are you talking about? And this was like, I have this, it's on sale for whatever this was. So I got like a bag of these for on sale really cheap, even though I only needed one. But anyway, if you just thread anything, in my case, it's this silly little stainless steel guy, thread that in there. The machine only rotates in the clockwise direction from here, so pretty easy to just thread that in there and then get whatever they happen to give you a Granger, and then you can rotate the machine manually that way, which was absolutely crucial for me because there was no way this motor was going to be able to turn it all with all the built up grease and just nastiness, rust. Um, One thing about this though is that because it's a right hand thread and you're going to be turning it clockwise, I knew I should have got some anti-seize before I put it in there, but I was like, man, I'll just put some oil on it; it'll be fine. And it was not fine. I almost broke this thing getting it out. So, I mean, I would highly recommend putting some anti-seize on there first, just so you don't end up in my situation where it was almost time to get an easy out, just to undo this little mistake here. Okay, so many of the problems I had with operation and like things locking up while it was, or keys would remain locked up even though an operation was finished or whatever, were mainly due to just all of the little components in this area. Um, and honestly, it really just came down to mostly cleaning and lubricating these. I mean, you can only see from this side the stuff that's on the outside, but already, I mean, there's a lot of levers here. You got the clearing one, especially. Um, there's a lot of things that this clearing lever does. Um, a lot of things need to get out of its way for it to not be locked up. So in my case, there was something here that was preventing this from. It would not quite get out of the way enough for this to move. So it was really just kind of a game of figuring out which one of these is stopping it from moving. Okay, get a bunch of lubricant on there, clean it out really good. Um, Eventually, I was able to get that to where it wasn't sticking anymore. But I mean, this is just one side of it. There's a whole other row in there, and then there's the other side of buttons. Unfortunately, the ones that are further in there, I'm not going to be able to show those very well on the video at all. But of all of the issues, the clearing, getting stuck, um, the only thing I needed to actually make an adjustment here to fix on this side was this little thing right here. So this is, I don't know what you want to call this. I mean, it's hexagonal. It threads onto here, and it holds the clearing. This is like the general carriage clear, and then this is just the keyboard clear. Um, but this being properly aligned seemed to mess with whether the keyboard would clear or this clear mechanism would work properly. Like with this guy, I was having issues with the rust, and I really wanted to just loosen this a little bit so that it wouldn't ride on the rusty parts so much, and I could get it to see if it's already kind of loose. Um, but I had to tighten this exactly to where it's at now so that both this would be able to clear and this wouldn't get stuck. This is another good view of the clearing button here. There's so many little, it's just this huge network of levers off this one little button that all need to work exactly right. This up here, this is out in the open, but if your motor's getting stuck running, this is another thing that a lot of times, maybe I can get a kind of a better view. Alright. So this is attached to, it has, I don't know, there's so many little attachments on this, but if any of those are stuck, then this thing's just, the motor's just going to spin. I mean, once again, this is mostly just a bunch of lubrication on this side. I took the bottom plate off only after I had basically finished with fixing this thing, and I really wish that I had done that sooner. Um, there's a little access panel. I'll show the, let me grab the bottom plate here, because there is an access panel on the bottom that will allow you to get in and see everything, or at least most things. But it's not worth it. I mean, I thought I could get away with just going through there. But this is the bottom plate, and I haven't attached it yet because I was going to, and I thought I should make this video because I don't ever want to take this apart again. But so this thing was full of this nasty 100-year-old felt, and you can kind of see the parts where I cut this whatever cork to replace it. But trying to get all of the adhesive to this felt off was awful. And I'm pretty sure I made it worse with all of the cleaning chemicals I was dumping in here, because if you don't take the bottom plate off, not only do you have this huge gasket, felt gasket, it's like a, I don't know, 3/8 inch thick, that gets full of all the nastiness, but then you have the felt at the bottom. Um, of all the felt gaskets and whatever, bumpers, whatever you want to call those on this machine, I think this is one of the only ones I'm going to reuse. And the only reason for that is this sits in between the bottom plate here and the cork of the actual base. And I was able to just basically soak this thing in simple green and dry it outside, and it seems to be fairly okay. I really hate felt in general in these things because, I mean, just, you'd see this right here. I mean, literally, it just turns into dust, um, and it's the worst. I mean, cork, at least, I mean, cork is going to shrink. It's going to, chip off, but it won't just turn into mud like this felt does. But this felt is encased completely by the metal and the bottom of the pan. So I think I'm going to keep that. But I don't know. I really wish that I had just taken the thing off instead of the little access plate, because you have a few more ports. I try to show that here that you can get without the bottom plate on. Okay, here's a shot of these three levers I have up here. Um, There are not very many models of these that have three levers on the top right of the keyboard. Um, the SEW has them on top of the multiplier. A lot of these other models just have two over here. And on mine, they're not labeled. Like the plate literally just has one label for this one. It says stop. Um, and I was like, okay, cool. Like it seemed to stop the machine when I was, messing with it. But so basically, this is just the reverse for the. It's a little greasy. Glad I caught that on video because now I can show off my little whatever uh, oil pen with the clock oil that's uh, super whatever synthetic and all that nonsense. All right, anyway, so this thing is just the reverse for the counter. So this is positive counting, this is reverse counting. Um, I really only need this when I'm doing square roots. You need it to count in reverse. This is just the counter disabling lever. Um, I really don't know why. I mean, I have the manual. I'm sure I could go in and see, oh, to do this very specific thing that really doesn't matter, you could disable the counter, but I never really see a reason for that. This thing is probably the most important one. This is the multiplication stop, um, or sorry, the division stop. It'll also stop the machine if it's just stuck doing something weird a lot of the times, not all the time. But pushing it up, it's a little momentary stop thing. Connects all the way back here. Um, Also, you can set it down, and it will stay down. And all that does is during division, it will do one digit, and then it will just stop. So if you're ever trying to do a big division and you just want one digit for some reason, that's a really useful little thing to do. Um, I don't know, but like, that's what these two things do. So like usually this one's gonna be probably up. I think this one down is to turn it on. I'm not sure. It's pretty easy to tell once you just turn it on. But pushing this one up is maybe what stops division. All right, so I got this thing fully reassembled. Um, there's a few buttons on here that I had to steal from other calculators, but I'm going to just run through some operations. Um, Here are those three levers up here that were different on a lot of these machines, but this one's just the counter reverse. This turns the counter on and off, and then this is the division stop. Uh, Let me just do some additions. Bunch of numbers. There we go. Okay, I'm going to do some subtraction. Okay, so I underflowed it, so I gotta get it back. There we go. All right. Let's see. Multiplication. I'm gonna do 1771. What is it? 727 times 1773181. Should be able to pretty good approximation from pi. There we go. 3.14. All that stuff. And for division, I'll do another pi approximation. So let's do 355 divided by 113. All right, and there's pi. I guess I'm going to do a square root. They're kind of involved and honestly pretty silly, but it is possible to do them on these things. So I'm going to try to do square root of 66. We got to set that down. Just like that. All right, so you start off by clearing the counter, and I'm basically just going to subtract odd multiples of 5 until the bell goes off, and then go to the next digit. So it's kind of silly, but okay, so looks like it's 8.124, all that. So I don't know if that's right. So let me 8124038. Yep, I'm gonna do that by itself. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 4. Oop, gotta do a digit. 8, 1, 2, 40384. See if that works. Hey, look at that. That's pretty close. I mean, that's as good as you can get with this thing. Um, but yeah, I mean, this is other than the levers, it's basically the same as in STW. Um, got it a little faster, like I said, by speeding up the RPM. Um, but so far, after I got it put back together and lubricated, it's been running pretty well. Haven't really had any issues besides the stupid multiplier springs, but I'm pretty sure I got that hammered out this time. All right.